I would like to deliver closing remarks. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Suzuki-san. First, Executive Director Aritomo mentioned Brookfield. And why am I talking to you as a member of Brookfield? Let me talk about this. Brookfield, on Brookfield first, in the alternative sector, it's the industry's largest asset manager. 120 years ago was when the company was launched. 130 trillion is the total assets. And we have real estate, infrastructure, renewable energy, private equity, and real assets which we hold and we manage and we operate. And the mechanism by which we do this is that institutional investors worldwide, diverse institutional investors invest, and it takes the form of a fund. Various strategies are used for our investment. And 130 trillion yen is the size. Perhaps it's hard for you to envisage how large it is. Japan's private equity. Large private equity funds are such that they're about 1 billion. 150 billion would be considered quite large. We have 900 billion, so it's 9 times. Brookfield in 2015, that was when I first began to participate, was 1/4 of the present size, 30 trillion. In the 8 years, they grew into 130 trillion, which is more than 4-fold. According to Thinking Head Institution, from 2016 to 2020, Brookfield had a growth rate of 37%. That's the annual growth rate. Among the asset management companies, that ranks us as #1. And in 2015, I launched Brookfield Japan, and there were several companies, several hundred yens, or several hundreds of Japanese investors participated, and 8 years have passed. From Japan, close to 100 companies fund over 1 trillion yen, including large and small investors, including Japan. From global investors that we co-create, in order to achieve growth, and the process is such that with this growth, to make Japan an asset management center, to give momentum to growth of Tokyo as such, we felt that we could contribute. And last year, we decided to participate in FinCity. Now, this year, the Global Forum, we started in the morning with TAMF, and there has been a lot of discussion, and it was a very significant time that we spent. And to give you a summary, this is what it would look like. The very high-level discussions took place in the respective parts about making Tokyo an asset management center. And Chairman Nakaso talked about the growth capital and the importance of promoting growth, and this is called the Emerging Manager Program. Kishida administration's growth strategy, which it embraces, is growing large companies into larger companies, which is very important, but small companies, PEs, private equities, venture capitals, and startup companies, the expansion and growth would be a linchpin for the growth of the country as a whole. And this is one of the takeaways which I felt I learned from this program. And as for making Tokyo an asset management center, there are different factors related to this. In preparing for this, I did some homework. And I became very creative with the animation. I'm sorry, it's become harder to see because I became so creative. But as you can see, there are different initiatives which were born, centered around the plan to realize making Tokyo an asset management center. The plan was started as an initiative in 2020 as a plan. And what I wanted to communicate to you was that centered around FSA, there's a progress report for sophistication of asset management that comes out every year regarding asset management. Different perspectives were incorporated. There's an analysis from different perspectives, and this is a very good report. And what I wanted to tell you was that all of this intellect and wisdom is being collected, and a great groundswell is occurring. And I believe the direction is very correct. And so we're heading in the right direction. And also, from January of 2024, this is cutouts from clippings from newspapers for 20 days. Asset management-related articles would be cut out, and I would place them on the floor, and I would take photographs in this DX age. It's super analog. So I'm proud of being an analog person. And you can have a bird's eye view of all of these articles. A lot of articles on Nikkei related to asset management. I don't know how this will be translated. You cannot slight people who are not very technical or computer literate. Asset management requires a lot of time. And as you know, stock prices are booming. But toward making Tokyo an asset management center, the initiative is not consistent. So Japan's finance and economic system backbone has to be created. And we have to deepen the roots until this happens. So it'll take time. And to implement making Tokyo the financial asset management center, as you know, what is important is people in doing this. In implementing reform, it's people, all people who are involved in asset management, making Tokyo an asset management center. It's not just asset managers and asset owner-related people. These are not only the people that will improve qualitative improvements that will make global changes. What is most important is citizens' affinity to finance. Improvement of financial literacy is important. And so on financial literacy, I did a little bit of research. To what extent that people have an affinity with finance and how literate they are. S&P in 2015 did an interesting survey. And they took 141 countries, and they took male adults and talked about financial literacy. And Japan ranked 38, and Denmark was first, second was Norway, third was Sweden, sixth was the UK, US was 14th. So around Japan, what were the countries? Poland, South Africa, Chile, and Mongolia. And so we have a strong currency, the yen, and we are talking about becoming a financial center, but we was ranked very low, and so I'm very angry about this. The not computer literate person, that's me, is very angry about this. I'm a bit strange. After I graduated, I went to work for a U.S. accounting firm. I was hired locally, and I was thrown into the world of auditing in the United States. And what I experienced was that operating companies and managerial class people, marketing or factory-related persons, and people in finance, and those managerial persons not in finance at all, have a way of communicating about this subject. They're able to communicate. In the United States, do not have a lifetime employment system, so everyone, the managers, when to be promoted, they go to business schools, or they go into different jobs, transfer and change jobs to build up literacy. And that's experience that I had 30 years ago in the United States. So in that sense, I did some research on the U.S. system in terms of financial literacy in the 1970s. That's individual DC pensions were launched, and in the 80s, corporate type 401k was introduced, and in 2001, Education Reform Act was enacted. In 2003, Financial Literacy Education Improvement Act was enacted. And then the Financial Literacy Map, which cities should learn this and that, should offer this kind of education to high schools and junior high school students, is indicated on the map. In junior high schools, short-term, long-term interest rates, yield curve, and compound interest rates calculation, these are all taught. So I was very surprised. In Japan, what is the case? In Japan, naturally, there's a common awareness of issues, but as was mentioned today, things progress very slowly. DC Pension Act was enacted only after year 2000. And Financial Education Promotion Conference met on 2013, and Financial Literacy Map was drawn up then. And after 2000, in junior high school and high school, full-scale financial education was introduced, and the Financial Education Promotion Agency was set up, and we've only just started in this process. And so we've only just started. So going forward, how would we permeate all of this? How would we leverage this? As a consultant, I would say, if there's an objective set, how do we do the plan, do, check, and act? How do we put the cycle in motion? And this is what all of this leads to and feeds into. Financial education. To all of this, which has been enacted, how do we penetrate and permeate this? This is my strictly my personal view, and I'm not speaking on anyone's behalf. In Japan, leaving aside of whether it's good or bad, we have the entrance examination system, as you know. Toward entrance exams, students prepare 1 year or 2 years. They work very hard to take this one-off examination for entry into schools, and this one examination determines whether they'll be able to enter the school or not. The financial concept, or when if it becomes general practice to introduce financial concepts in mathematical examinations, the whole nation would start to study this and prepare students to answer such questions. Junior colleges are the same. When you talk about finance, commercial schools or business schools, people tend to think this is a field for these schools. But in basic education, in the first 1 or 2 years of junior high school, if we include financial education, even for those people who are going into history or literature, we can create a platform to broaden the base, and this is something that we have to do in the medium to long term. And people who are already working in society. If people work for financial companies, naturally there are different courses offered in schools, and they learn financial statements and other things. But if they go into, if we expand this to other businesses, and the national government as well as the TMG encourage this, and if they tie up with business schools and after schools, and if government provides subsidies for this purpose, very positively, and I know that this is done partially if we do more of this. I studied at Globus, a business graduate school. I teach accounting. There are people with a lot of ambition to learn about the financial statements, and they try to learn while they're working. And I've seen all of this happen, and I'm always quite stimulated. To talk about Brookfield. 8 years ago, when the Japanese company was established, most I believe that a lot of institutional investors did not know about the company, Brookfield. Alternative investment process is such that I've introduced different funds to have people invest. In a sense, this is a very unique process. And the GPs, the investors, they verify the team makeup strategies, history, track record, stability, and they may even make visits to the local scene to examine. So asset managers with asset owners, with a lot of these people, I've spent a lot of time with them to verify, to accompany them when they go to verify on the local scene. My experience was that inevitably among the investors, there would be those who understand Brookfield's strategy, and they spread it to those around him, and they convince their bosses, regardless of whether they're men or women. There are people like this who lead the process, and I've seen this many times. And just off the top of my head, 30 to 40 persons I can think of who were people like this. These are not 30 to 40 people. In this small industry, I think we should have 3,000 to 4,000 people like this. And these people become active in asset management companies. Even if they change their locations, they would create subordinates, and they would invite a lot of friends to do the same. And that would give momentum to asset management as a whole. So asset management leaders, I call them asset management samurais. Asset management samurai, or asset management samurais. This is what I call them. And I believe we can have as many as 3,000 of people. And last but not least, toward the future, what kind of asset management should we aim for to organize this a little bit? Asset Management Sophistication Progress Report 2023 pointed out several points, and they pointed out that Japanese asset management companies are among the Keiretsu group, whereas overseas they tend to be independent. And on the other hand, the CEOs, the number of years they have worked for the company or their background in previous companies, and whether they have worked for group companies, large asset management CEOs, and looking at global asset management CEOs, there's a big gap between the two. And so if we take all of this into consideration, if we look at the reality, asset management companies, global large companies, over $5 trillion, in Japan, a large asset management company's asset size is about 1/10 of this. We are a financial power. We consider ourselves a financial power in Japan, and the asset management companies, large companies, have to come to assume a position among the world-class companies. It's natural that we aim for this. We need to grow experts, nurture experts, and they have to be active in different places, and they have to create asset companies that are specialized, and they should become independent. They should tie up with overseas companies or collaborate with companies and incorporate overseas experts to achieve growth. Consolidation of this nature and various activities, diverse activities, I think are necessary. One point I'd like to convey to you is that from 2020, starting with the mapping, there's a lot of initiatives that were born. It's different from the stock market temporary phenomenon. Steadily, these efforts are bearing fruit. In 2024, this year, 4 years from 2020, the FinCity.Tokyo said that this was an inflection point, and I believe this is an year of inflection. And for those of you that are here, we want to boost the asset management business. So next year and the year after and in the following years, we want to direct the sector in the right direction. Thank you very much, so.